Hi, I'm David Stengel, representing the Princeton chapter. I'm thrilled to introduce the two speakers for our next session. They're both founders of multiple companies. Perri Blake Gorman went to school at NYU, spent a decade as a retained executive recruiter, founded Startup Grind New York, the first chapter outside of California, moved to San Francisco, founded UnrollMe, founded Archively, and is currently CEO there. Max Mullen went to USC, went to work at Schematic, then Sprout, founded Volley, and founded the unicorn Instacart. And without further ado, let's give them a big Startup Grind welcome, Perri and Max. They might still be miking up. That's a little too quick.
Thank you.
Hello. How is everyone? A little audience participation.
Nice,
you know?
nice. Good to see all of you.
So has everyone heard of Instacart? A few people in here. So Instacart has raised $275 million, has over 300 employees in over 18 cities, over 100 retailers signed up.
Yeah.
And Max, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the beginnings of Instacart?
Sure, absolutely. So we started the company in the summer of 2012, and it's just such a very interesting problem. You know, how do you deliver things to people in under an hour, and so we had a passion for solving that problem. I had some personal experiences where I had kind of come to the realization that this is something I really wanted to work on. I wanted to work on a problem with something tangible in the real world, having worked on software for a while before that. And then, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later maybe, but in the first company that I started, I just didn't have a deep passion for the customers that we were addressing, and so I wanted to have a product that I could share with my friends that I thought anybody would be able to use and that I would use personally myself, and so Instacart is that for me.
And so Instacart looks like it feels simple to the consumer, right?
I'm so glad you think that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good product, right? Good user experience where, you know, it seems really simple to the customer, but it's actually pretty complicated product,
yeah.
Both operationally and it's multi-sided, right? You have your consumer looking to buy groceries, you have your shoppers who are actually taking the orders and then delivering, and then you also have the retailers, which I think a lot of people are not necessarily familiar with the fact that you guys serve the retailers as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that from
Sure.
the product perspective?
So what I do at Instacart is work on product and design, and we work incredibly hard. I mean, when I say we work hard, I mean there are multiple engineering teams at Instacart that work incredibly hard to make our experience simple and easy to use for customers. But doing that is incredibly complicated, right? What we do in a nutshell is we work with retailers to take what they know about the inventory that's in their stores and to turn that into a beautiful catalog of items so that our customers can order those items and that the price is right and that there's pictures and nutrition facts and information about all the items that we sell. And just that problem of understanding what's in the stores so that when our shoppers get there, they find those items is an incredibly difficult problem. Then layering on top of that, the idea that we take orders for 1 hour delivery, for 2 hour delivery, for later today, for tomorrow, we'll take an order up to 7 days in advance, in fact, and having to be able to predict consumer demand so that we can forecast how many shoppers we'll need to schedule, and so that we can operate our business efficiently. That's an incredibly difficult problem.
And you guys have a pretty killer data science team.
Yep.
Can you say more about how you guys are using data science to solve some of these problems?
Sure. I mean, data science is incredibly important in doing forecasting of demand, like I mentioned, in understanding and modeling how long we think it's going to take to fulfill an order, and in predicting what is and isn't going to be in stock in the store. So we can do things like guess whether there are going to be bananas at 6 p.m. tomorrow at Whole Foods. And if we can do that accurately, we can make sure that we only sell things to customers that we think we're going to be able to fulfill.
So we can do a little candidate plug, like all the data scientists that want to go work at Instacart.
Yeah, there's an
They're
amazing
working on some really awesome
blog
problems.
post that we just posted about our data science team and the challenges that they're facing. If you're interested in data science, I mean, it's an incredible opportunity to break new ground in the field, frankly, to working at Instacart doing that.
So take us back a little bit, though, in terms of, I think a lot of founders who work on marketplaces in general and multi-sided marketplaces, like where there's 3 sides, start out finding it very difficult to know like which to focus on first, and how to actually get that critical mass going in a way that allows there to be traction and growth.
Yeah.
So how did you get started that got you guys to product market fit and to a place where you could grow?
I mean, the most important thing is always your customers. You got to focus on them, and you have to have a product that people want, that people need. And so that's the first thing we did. We made sure that our customer experience was great. But in a marketplace, you also have to have something on the supply side. In our case, that's shoppers who are labor force, people who are wonderfully skilled at understanding food and understanding customer service. And so we had to hire those shoppers and make sure that they were incredible people at the same time as we were building the demand side, the customer side, right?
So you built shoppers first.
We considered the customer experience and then built the supply and demand sort of equally, such that we had to invest in shoppers and in making sure we had what we call availability, right? The ability for you to place an order right now for delivery in 1 hour. We had to invest in that, and we still have to every time we launch a new city.
Talk about that for a second. Like, what are some of the things that have happened in terms of, or things you consider when you're launching into new cities?
Yeah, well, every city's a little bit different, you know. Obviously, it goes without saying, but there are some cities that we see that are very similar in size or in demographics. We look at things like weather. So cities with high number of days of rain are very good for our business because people don't want to go grocery shopping when it's raining. And cities
factor that in when choosing cities.
Absolutely,
to grow
yeah.
into?
You look at everything. You know, we looked at households with and without vehicles, right? So in a city like New York, many households don't have a car, and so that makes it more likely that they'll use a delivery service. And in fact, New York is one of our most unique markets. It comes with all kinds of interesting challenges like parking and traffic and just the sort of lack of space in general in New York City in all businesses makes it really difficult to operate there.
And we talked about New York being a little bit of a special case before we came on. And how do you take a city like that and take some of that feedback and the special things that a city like New York needs, which obviously is going to be a very large market, and then apply that to your product decisions? Yeah,
well, I mean, first of all, we have an incredible operations team, and they get all the credit for everything we do in New York that is special. I remember we were thinking about launching New York. I think it must have been 2014, and one of the members of the operations team came and said, look, to the engineering team, which at the time was very small, maybe 15 people, and said, hey, look, we want to launch New York. We want to do it in 2 weeks, and we want to do it with in a completely different fulfillment model. We're not going to use cars. We're going to use people that walk from the grocery store to the house. And that means everything about the whole product has to change. Everything about our assumptions about how long it takes to do a delivery. We have to understand the bulkiness of the items that you're ordering such that we don't send somebody to go walk with 10 cases of bottled water. And they said, and we want to do it in 2 weeks. We're going to leave today to go to New York and launch it. And as an engineering team, my first thought was, you know, as a product manager, my first thought was like, hold on a second, let's scope this and maybe say yes or maybe say no or maybe push the date back. But actually, we just said yes, and we did it. And that's kind of how Instacart rolls. Like, we take on incredibly hard challenges against odds where we don't necessarily have a plan, and we succeed.
So how do you succeed under those conditions?
I think focus is incredibly important, whether your company's 3 people or 300 people. If you have one thing that you need to get done, and you spend all of your time thinking about the different solutions and trying them and failing and trying them and failing and learning, then you can accomplish almost anything. So we're a bit bigger now. We have, generally 1 or 2 or 3 things that as a company we're working on, but everybody knows those things, and you can go up to anybody and they'll know exactly which one of those things they're working on.
Let's actually segue into culture and team for a little bit there, because you're mentioning that, and how really you guys have created a pretty seamless culture where even though you're over 300 employees now, you have very good communication internally about what you guys are working on, what's important, what the mission is. But you also have separated out your engineering. Can you tell a little bit about how your engineering teams and your product teams are in the pods?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So our engineering and product teams each have a customer. So you mentioned we have 3 parts of our marketplace: consumers, the people that buy the groceries, all of you hopefully; shoppers, the people who are experienced at going and shopping for the groceries and delivering them; and then retailers. And in addition to retailers, we actually work increasingly with manufacturers who are offering deals and discounts and doing special promotions with us on our platform. So there's sort of 3.5 or even 4 sides to our marketplace. And so each engineering team has a customer in that world, right? So there's an engineering team we call the core experience team, and their customer is the end consumer. Okay. They build our Android and iOS apps. They build our web app. And they come to work and get excited about the mission of delivering an amazing experience to our consumers. And
you have other people on that team too, right?
Absolutely. That's a cross-functional team.
Okay.
A product manager, engineers, mobile engineers, an analyst. And so each team has a mission. And in addition to supporting the company's mission and strategic goals, they have their own customer and mission, which is very important, right?
Yeah.
You kind of want to come to work every day and get excited about something that you can focus on. And so not every team's mission is to serve the customer. Of course, customers are very important to everyone in our company, but there's a team whose job it is to serve the retailers, and there's a team multiple teams whose job it is to serve our shoppers.
What happens when those customer needs start to conflict, or when one customer seems to be taking the company in one direction, and I don't know if this is...
Yeah, sure, it's a real world problem. I mean, generally they're not conflicting in terms of we don't want to do that or we do want to do that, but more so how do we use our limited resources to achieve our sort of seemingly endless ambition for doing everything. And the real answer is you have to prioritize. And that's why having cross-functional teams that are separate with separate missions with their own priority queues is so important, because the top of the thing at one team's queue might look like the bottom of the thing in another team's queue, but that team can still do what they need to do.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's go back and back into product from the perspective of growth, because growth is obviously one of the things that entrepreneurs struggle with a lot,
sure.
In terms of, you build this great thing, and how do you get people to use it, and how do you grow these multiple sides? What are some of, other than paid advertising, et cetera, like what are the things that you guys have experimented with in the product, and like when you're making product decisions that really affect the growth of all sides of the business?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we first started the company, we tried all kinds of things.
Like what?
To grow, yeah. I mean,
these are the best stories.
We tried, I mean, just sort of any idea that we had, we would try, right? And we would run a test. We tried having people send their friends free groceries. We tried different combinations of minimum order sizes, and we do a lot of email marketing, so we tried all kinds of different things there, and drip campaigns, and to some extent all of those things work. And to some extent, you need to do some of those things like email drip marketing just to re-engage people. But those kind of things are kind of par for the course. The only lasting growth strategy that Instacart has ever had is to have an amazing product and to find key moments where people have delight in the product and then get them to tell their friends about it. And if you can have a referral program that can help encourage people to do that, then that's really important too.
Thank you. So what advice would you give to an entrepreneur who was starting out and they thought they had something and they were trying to grow it?
Yeah, focus on your customers. The most important thing when you're starting out and when you're, before they say you have product market fit, before you are sure that you have a thing that people really need and those people are willing to pay for it, or if it's not a paid product, are willing to come and use it and tell their friends, is to talk to your customers and kind of ask them what they think. You don't want to ask them if they like it, but if it's something that they're going to pay for, you want to ask them if they'll pay for it. And in fact, just like get them to write you a check, right? Money talks. If you can sell your product, it's a very good sign that it's a good product. And this is all stuff that you guys probably heard from Steve Blank earlier. He's the master of customer development. But it's really true. You got to focus on your customers, and you got to talk to them. You got to get outside the building, and you've got to do that regularly. We do it every single week. We bring customers into Instacart to watch them use our product. We learn things every single time we do that about how our product works and how we can make it better. And you never want to forget that you are not the customer. 99% of the time, you're not the customer. Your customers are different than you, and understanding them is key to success.
You started talking about passion, and obviously you've done startup, you've worked on other things before.
Yeah.
And passion is a big one for you. But what other general advice would you give to entrepreneurs in terms of like being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, being an entrepreneur. Well, don't be an entrepreneur for the sake of being an entrepreneur.
Seriously.
I made that mistake in my first company. It's not a good one to make. And what happened there was I started a company called Volley. It was 4 people in Los Angeles about 5 years ago. And we were working on a problem that we were very passionate about, which is how do you get groups of people to plan events together and to get friends together more often. And that was something I was passionate about solving. We built a product. It was okay. People didn't really use it at scale. It didn't get to the place we wanted it to get to. But we did find that there was a few features that people used. So we pivoted and used those features to build another product, which ended up looking a lot like group messaging, which if you remember 4 or 5 years ago was kind of a big thing and kind of a hot thing. And so we ended up running a company that was basically a group messaging company. And after 6 months of doing that, we looked at each other, my co-founder and I, and we were like, we don't like this problem. We don't want to solve this problem. We think we're not going to be the world's best company at solving this problem. Why are we doing this?
Okay, got it. So you pivoted and into something that...
Yeah, and so you have to have passion for the problem you're solving and the customers you're solving it for, or else there's no point in doing it in the first place.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Any other advice?
Other advice. I think working for a growing company is an extremely underrated tactic for an entrepreneur to learn.
So go work for a startup.
Don't go work for just any company.
Yeah.
But go work for a company that's solving a problem you can identify with, has a mission you want to be part of, and go work for that company and learn a lot about what it's like to grow a company. Just by being around, you learn 80% of the learnings. You don't have to do it to learn how to hire people or how to grow a company. Just being around.
And so what's the future of, like, what's next? Like, where do you see the future of the on-demand economy?
Well, here we are, Silicon Valley.
As we're closing up.
And we take it for granted, right? We take it for granted that that you can get things delivered in an hour, or that all the restaurants deliver. But that is not
Drano at 11 p.m.
Right, at any time of day, any kind of food. In New York City, you can get anything delivered from your corner market. But that's not a normal thing in most cities in this country or in most cities in the world. So I think we're going to see the expectation of consumers rise over the next few years, just as it has happened with ride sharing, with transportation, where people now assume most of the time that they'll be able to get a car in 2 minutes. I think people will start to assume that they should be able to get their groceries delivered in an hour, and we hope to be the service that is there to capture that demand.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we're pretty much out of time. We have another minute if you want to say anything else.
No, I mean, if anyone has any questions or anything, we're happy to answer.
One quick shout.
Fight on, USC. Nice. Oh, a lot of Trojans.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Give Max some applause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Perri.